about stereotypes. Often people associate large diverse populations, particularly new immigrant populations, with a lot of challenges or even problems. And yet, yours is a success story. So, what's the secret to your success?
Well, certainly Arlington, which has a long history of being a welcoming community to people from around the world, continues to maintain that type of approach, in large part because we have deliberately set out to say that our mission statement will say so that everything that the government does has to reflect back to that mission statement. And part of our mission statement says that we're a diverse, inclusive community in which each person is important. So that applies to everything that we do. And so when you're talking about our new residents that are moved to our area, and part of what gets lost sometimes, I think, is as human beings, we tend to remember the bad things and the negative aspects of it. And lost in the shuffle is the tremendous positive contributions the vast majority of immigrants bring. And sometimes it gets a little personal because some of us probably are a little more closer to those issues than others may be, or others could be people who have second, third, fourth generations but probably been here. So once in a while, there's a little bit of a reminder to all that the United States is a nation of immigrants, and so it's part of the cycle that goes on all the time. And then, yeah, we have challenges, and it isn't perfect, but we know that the immigrants that are here today have made enormous contributions to our quality of life. We have metro corridors where retail on the first floor, offices and apartments above. There's a livelihood that goes on. There's a service industry of cafes, boutiques, grocery stores, shops, clothing store, all kinds of stuff. Someone has to be serving there. Someone has to be at the register and taking your credit card or your cash and process those kinds of things, serving your food, cleaning your dishes, all kinds of stuff, as well as the IT six-figure salary persons that could also be a part of our livelihood. So, we recognize that. And immigrants actually are in all of those fields, not just in the service industry as well. So we recognize that there are major contributions. So for us in Arlington has been that people just simply need to be given a fair chance to compete.
It's a simple concept yet very powerful in that rather than starting with the notion that this is a problem, you're starting with the notion that this is an asset.
Absolutely. And part of has caused that, especially in the last 10 years or so, I would say, is that after September 11, a very ugly anti-immigrant sentiment was developed in this country. And that was kind of a turning point because at the time, for example, George W. Bush was speaking just prior to September 11, speaking with Vicente Fox, the president of Mexico at the time, for possible immigration reform at the time. That would involve, obviously, members of Congress and the nation as a whole here in this country. And then September 11 happened, and so the attitudes changed and toward people who looked different. And so then all of us who might seem different, and usually is people of color with an accent particularly, we're then being singled out or sort of sometimes overtly, most of the times covertly. And so the allegations that, for instance, the terrorists had, not allegations, but the fact that the terrorists all of them had driver's licenses. And so that was one of the movements that began that problem.
Are we getting past that fear?
Unfortunately, we're not. I think that some people like to say that we have, but see, what happens is then you have to then take all of that's going on around the country and say to yourself, what is it that we control? What is it that's there within our reach that we can make a difference on? And part of that is then say, categorically reject the anti-immigrant approach, which is to sort of pick on a group of people, because a lot of times it's weak in the political arena, not just in financially, but they may not be actively engaged. In Arlington, we have something called the Arlington Way, in which civic involvement, citizen participation to help make decisions. And a lot of times the immigrants are not part of that, so we understand that. But then, so some of us then who are in political leadership roles then have to be the ones that have to have the guts to get out there and stand up and say it to not just one crowd, but to all. So we have been very strong in Arlington that we have tried to balance the scale. We were the first in the Northern Virginia area that came out in support of the positive contributions that immigrants bring. At a time it was you could almost touch it. It was anti-immigrant sentiment, county not far from us in Northern Virginia called Prince William County. All the areas that were talking negatively, trying to force people out of their places, even though they didn't know they were going to lose tax base. It cost them later, we felt no, they actually contribute significantly to our community. We want you to be here. If you follow the rules and part of contributing to our community, welcome.
Are the things you're doing here are unique to Arlington, or can other communities across the country or the world learn from your example? In other words, are the best practices that you've applied here transferable?
We are doing what we think is right works for our community, and it could be a model for others. The most significant angle is we have the political, deliberate will to include people and set the tone for inclusion. Because we can say it all sounds nice, but if you don't turn it into policy, for example, we want to make sure that our workforce in the county reflects the diversity of our community. We have people that are in managerial levels, make sure that we have people who look like the population. And I know that in some places that causes a problem, but we're saying that's just nature, that's part of what we need to have. In our schools, we have a diverse population, and I should reflect also in the teaching body. A lot of times there's a problem with meeting that, but there's at least a desire to do that, and people actually value immersion programs where kids grow up and learn in two languages. English, of course, first, but they grow up learning another language, and in many cases, it's not just Spanish. In large part, the majority is Spanish, but there are other languages as well, and that's part of what we value. So I think it's important to have the deliberate approach, and then create a number of opportunities for people to come together and discuss things. Not that we have to know each other's intimate secrets and all that, but let's get to know our cultures a little bit more, because it turns out that we're human beings and we have more in common than we think we do. And yes, we might have a little accent. Yes, we might have a little different complexion and stuff like that. But ultimately, we all want kind of the same thing. Be respected, have dignity in the way we approach, be given a fair chance to compete. So, ultimately, the question we ask people is, how are you going to contribute to our quality of life by participating in our civic life? And it does not matter what status you have in life, which includes your immigration status. So what? Family structure and all that. If you follow the rules and are willing to be part of it, you welcome. You contribute to our community. If you reside or work in Arlington, we welcome you to participate.
My final question is about your personal experience. I think, were you 13 when you moved to the U.S.?
Yes.
Did you speak English when you moved here?
I spoke one word. No.
One word.
Because it's the same in Spanish.
Wow.
No, I spoke.
Well, then,
yes, I didn't speak English.
So,
no.
So how has your personal immigrant experience informed your life as a public servant?
Sure, significantly. I think that because I've experienced what it's like not to speak the language and feel almost like mute, or like some things where people laugh at me in school. I wanted to date some girls, and they would smile at me. And I had a friend named Antonio, and I would say to him, "What's she saying? What's she saying?" And I thought I would smile back, and he would say, "Well, she's saying that you're the worst thing that ever happened on earth." And but I didn't know what the heck what's going on. And so in so many other areas as well, I did not know the language, and so I understand what it is to then also ask something that you have a thick accent and people laugh about it, laugh at you. So, and then there's this thing of navigating the different culture in general, because there are some things like Thanksgiving for me. What is this out? Great, I get to have 2 days off. It didn't mean anything to me, because we were not. But here it's a big deal, and you learn about those kinds of things. So I think that did shape my perspective on things. I think that because I come from a background where my mom had to leave her native land to the United States and send remittances back home to then bring her 3 kids here, because we had no money and we're struggling. And I'll say, well, I shined shoes in the central market of San Salvador while my mother was here to help our family. 5 cents a shine, 10 cents a shine. And my mom, to this day, says to me, "I wish you hadn't done that." But that's what you do when we have situations that you have to help. And that was my part to contribute. So all of that thing has stayed with me. And now, as I have the privilege to be chairman of the Arlington County Board, which ranked one of the wealthiest county in the United States, I do put in place my philosophy of supporting affordable housing for people of less means, making sure there's tenant support, which is never a focus in Virginia as a property rights state. There are no rights for tenants. And then look at the prevention of homelessness and tackle those kinds of things from a very dignified perspective. For instance, we've reduced gang activity in Arlington because we focus on prevention, not on arrest and deport and make punitive. It's a preventive thing. You got to engage our young people and challenge them to participate. So yeah, all those things, and I am intolerant of violation of human rights or civil rights. We very much want to say we can just say them. We cannot tolerate any kind of human rights, civil rights violation. For example, I came out against the name of the professional football team in Washington uses. As it turns out, and I got a lot of criticism, as it turns out 5 days later, President Obama made a pronunciation. If he were the owner, he would change the name. So all of a sudden, all that stuff stopped. I get all the attacks that were launching against me. And then since then, Bob Costas and a number of other people, because I feel it is a slur. It's an insult. What part of insulting is it that people don't get? So, things like that. When somebody is being offended, we all need to come together. It doesn't matter where we're from. Would you like to be somebody picked on? And how long do you think a name will last with the name of the white skins or brown skins? What's up with that? So, we have to be able to be strong and say, wait a minute, it's not being politically correct. It's denigrating a group of people. We are the United States. We have to lead by example. So it starts in the local level, starts here. And so, my experience as an immigrant has influenced profoundly what I stand for. And I know that many people don't agree with me. I respect their view, but that's not going to change.
Chairman Tejada, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for
Wish
inviting
you
me.
continued success.
Thank you very much.